The Arabian Peninsula is the land of the divine messages and the cradle of civilizations. It was the springboard for the great pioneers who propagated the truth and carried the message of peace to all corners of the world. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was founded in the year 1319 Hijra by the late King Abdulaziz Al Saud, thereby ushering a new era of prosperity at the hands of its very own. The kingdom is widely considered to be one of the world's largest energy providers due to its enormous crude gas and oil reserves. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia covers an area of 2,250,000 square kilometers and has a total population of about 27 million. It is considered to be a main regional and international player politically, economically, and religiously, aided by its strategic and unique geographical location. The eastern province of the kingdom is one of the 5 most prominent regions and the largest in terms of size. It holds great significance economically, geographically, and historically, with its major cities overlooking the banks of the Arabian Gulf. Not far away, and separated only by a thin line of the western side of the Arabian Gulf, lies the Kingdom of Bahrain. For ages, the two kingdoms have been bound together by common love and friendship, as well as mutual and strategic interests. The Kingdom of Bahrain is made up of a collection of islands covering an area of 711 square kilometers and is home to just over 700,000 inhabitants. Bahrain was considered home to a vast number of ancient civilizations, and it is currently a business and industrial hub, as well as a main tourist destination in the region. The idea of constructing a bridge between the two kingdoms was a dream that had enticed the two nations for a long time, and was enhanced further by the historic meeting between His Majesty King Saud bin Abdulaziz Al Saud and His Majesty Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa in the year 1954, 1374 Hijra. Subsequent meetings between the two brought the dream even closer to reality, and the idea of building a causeway connecting the two kingdoms started to materialize officially in the year 1386 Hijra, 1965. During the visit of King Faisal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud to the eastern province and his courtesy meeting with Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa, who expressed his desire to build the causeway and considered it a project with nationalistic significance. During one of his auspicious visits, His Majesty King Khalid bin Abdulaziz and His Majesty Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa presided over the signing of an agreement to form a ministerial committee from both kingdoms to oversee the realization of this dream. On the 25th of Muharram, 1403 Hijra, the 11th of November 1982, His Majesty King Fahd bin Abdulaziz Al Saud and His Majesty Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa unveiled the curtain on the memorial plaque during a formal ceremony attended by the leaders of the GCC states, marking the beginning of the project. The causeway, which is 25 kilometers in length, is made up of a number of bridges and embankments. A total of 7 embankments were erected on the shallow waters and extended to the Al-Nasan Island, covering a total length of 12.5 kilometers. The 4th embankment was designed in the shape of 2 artificial islands conjoined together that acts as a designated area for completing traveling formalities, border station, and houses the administration buildings as well as other facilities. The embankments are connected by 5 bridges that range between 1 to 5 kilometers in length over a total length of 12.5 kilometers. One of the bridges is designated with a navigational passage towering to a height of 29 meters and 150 meters wide to allow medium-sized cargo ships to pass through. During the construction of the embankments, 2 barriers made of huge rocks were erected on the 2 sides adjacent to the sea, while the 2 inner sides were covered artificially to prevent the sand from collapsing. The sand used for the inner side of the embankments was extracted from the nearby seabed. Heavy dredging equipment was utilized to move the sand to the construction site through a floating pipeline system. The embankments were built to accommodate a 2-way road for vehicles with lengths ranging between 600 and more than 3,000 meters. The border island in the middle of the sea was built from the sand that was extracted from the seabed and surrounded by a barrier of huge rocks. A big part of the causeway was designed with pre-stressed hollow cylindrical pillars with a width of 3.5 meters. Each pillar consists of a number of conjoined segments that push the reinforcing steel to the stockade that in turn settles inside the molds at the construction site. The process utilized 1,200 laborers daily and consumed 300,000 segments to build 536 concrete columns. Because concrete bridges are usually exposed to harsh environmental conditions characterized by high salinity and soaring temperatures, they require concrete and mixtures with special properties. Desalinated seawater, derived from a desalination plant on the construction site, was used for the concrete mixtures and to wash special gravel that was brought in from specific sites with special specs. The sand used was excavated from special areas of the seabed after being washed and filtered clean. Smelted cement, known for its resistance to harsh environmental conditions, was imported from Holland. Cement that has undergone luting is then pumped using concrete pumps to the molds in an around-the-clock process that produces 7 segments a day. After a while, the pieces become hard and dry enough to allow removal of the mold. They are then sprayed with steamed water at night and covered by a special material to ensure water constantly stays on the surface of the concrete. When the concrete blocks are dry and hard enough, they are moved to the assembling rack, where they are stacked together to form an entire column that could consume between 3 to 8 segments, depending on the desired length of the column. Ducts for the steel tendons are then opened up in a uniform manner until they fill up the space between the pieces using cement mortars with a very low degree of contraction. After that, the columns are lifted by a crane and loaded onto flatboats specially designed for the task, ready to be transported. And to further elaborate the process of putting the columns into place, steel casing is lowered onto the seabed that comprises of sand and mud on a layer of rocks. Drilling equipment is then lowered inside the steel casing down to the seabed to clear the sand and mud, thereby allowing the steel casing to slowly sink to the hard layer, paving the way for the drilling to start. The drilling process is then done on the layer of rocks and could reach to depths of up to 12 meters. The concrete column is then lowered inside the steel casing with a clearance of 15 centimeters either side of the column to facilitate the process of keeping the column in place. The upper part of the column is then filled with concrete, and the clearance around the column is injected with cement mortar. That way, the column holds firmly in place and the steel casing can be raised up. The columns are usually arranged in doubles, and the platform operates day and night, lowering the casing and fixing the columns in place. The heavy drilling equipment is left dangling from the crane during the process, before again shifting to its place over the casing and going through the whole process again. The wire ropes of the drilling platform are designed to provide balance and maintain accuracy when working inside the casing. It takes half a day to drill into the seabed, and within that period, the flatboat carrying the columns arrives, and the floating crane picks them up and slowly moves to the platform using mooring ropes. When the column is above the casing, it is slowly lowered into the rocky seabed. 2 columns from a total of 536 columns are installed at a time in an around-the-clock process on both platforms. The columns are then fixed with box-shaped concrete girders on top of the column cap. The beams are either short or long, and the shorter one is suspended between 2 long ones to form 2 bridges, with each one wide enough to accommodate 2 lanes for vehicles and 1 for emergency stops. The beams are made on the construction site using special molds that are filled on both sides to maintain the temperature and moisture of the concrete. 1 beam is produced in a day, and the process of opening up the interior of the mold takes 5 minutes, though kinetic techniques have accelerated this process and made it 20 times faster. The concrete pumps operate non-stop on both ends, and the surface of the concrete is then compacted and covered with a plastic sheet to prevent it from contracting as a result of the instant evaporation of water from the surface of the concrete. The beams are then placed on the pier with the precision of 1 millimeter by utilizing rubber that absorbs the impact of the contact during movement. Precautionary measures are taken due to the mammoth size of the beams, with 1 beam weighing 1,400 tons. No precast concrete beams of this size have ever been made. Another bridge, crafted with a different design, was constructed at the intersection between the causeway's extension and the marine navigation road. This bridge is characterized by concrete pillars erected on specially designed bases that were constructed by first dislodging the sand on the seabed to access the layer of rocks, and then planting small pillars inside and installing concrete blocks on top of each other while filling them with concrete to form a huge base that holds the pillars that in turn act as support for the upper part of the bridge. The upper parts of the bridge consist of precast concrete blocks that are bonded together by steel tendons, while the other bridge is constructed exactly in the same mold, with 4 bases that hold the columns and are designated in the same way and then filled with concrete. The main pillars of the navigational passage were filled up at the construction site, while the shorter pillars were pre-assembled at the place of manufacture and then fixed at the site. The upper parts are designed from precast components that are then assembled on either side of the bridge by a special crane. The spaces between the components are then filled with a substance known as epoxy. The project was undertaken by the Dutch contractor Ballast Needham and took 4 years to complete at an estimated cost of $800 million. On Thursday, 21st Rajab, 1405, the 11th of April, 1985, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa pushed the button to signal the installation of the last part of the box girder bridges, thereby linking the Saudi mainland with the island of Bahrain. The dream was realized on Wednesday, 24th Rabi', 1407 Hijra, the 26th of November, 1986, when the causeway was inaugurated by the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Fahd bin Abdulaziz, and His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa.
إن هذا الجسر هو من معجزات القرن العشرين، فسبقني كذلك بعض الأخوان وقالوا أن ربما أنه ما كان أحد أو مجموعة كانت لا تصدق أنه ممكن ينشأ مثل هذا الجسر، بل كانت فكرة ومن الصعوبة بمكان تنفيذها. الحمد لله أنه الآن نشوف ونلمس ونرى بأعيننا هذا الجسر نفذ على ما يرام،
الذي يسعدنا أن نطلق عليه اسم جسر الملك فهد.
ولقد ظل هذا السيف رمزا من رموز العائلة الواحدة والأصل الواحد والموقف الواحد على مر السنين. وقد ارتأينا بهذه المناسبة المباركة أن يكون مكانا بين أياديكم الكريمة تذكارا لما بناه الأولون، وأمانة خالصة للأخوة الحقيقية والتاريخية بيننا، وللتكاتف والتلاحم بين الشعبين السعودي والبحرين.
واليوم أيها الأخ الكريم تأتي زيارتنا هذه لا لتضيف جديدا، بل تقول للآخرين إننا وطن وشعب واحد في السراء والضراء.